So today we're going to go over exactly how to manage upcoming automations for a contact in your ProLine account. If we go right here to this Laura Croft contact, we can go to preview next step, and we can see the exact email and text message that are about to be sent to Laura. Now, I can actually view these if I hit see full email, so I can view the full email here. If I want to expand this, I can see the full text message, and then I can also edit both the email and the text message if I want to change what these messages are for this specific contact. When you make a change on the preview next steps dialogue for a contact, it does not apply to all contacts that are in the campaign. You're only editing that message for this specific contact, which is nice. So really good example of this would be the contact said, hey, I was in an accident. I need to hold off a week on this. Can you follow up with me next week? So you can go in and say, hey, I hope you're recovering well. Let me know if there's anything I can do to help. And then you could have the normal follow-up message after that. So you might want to put in some specific reference for that contact specifically. You don't have to do that, but ProLine allows you and it enables you to do that and have that level of control over the automated follow-up if you want it. Now, in addition to being able to preview and edit, you can actually choose a new date. So going back to that example, maybe you need to change that the follow-up was supposed to run on Friday or Saturday, but you want to push to that next week to honor what the contact has asked you. So you can go into new date and select a date that is maybe next week, some other point in time down the road, change that, and now this is the new date on which these automations are going to run for the contact. Now, in addition to being able to reschedule and edit, you can also just pause this contact's automations. If you don't know what's going on with them, you don't want to move them into a new campaign, you just want them to stop getting the messages for whatever campaign they're currently in. If they're in, for example, a sales follow-up campaign, you can hit pause and you can pause the contact, and now ProLine is going to stop sending any automations or running any automations for this contact as long as they're paused and remain in this campaign. If they get moved to a different campaign, for example, moved into like a review generation campaign, for example, then it will unpause them and start running that campaign. This is just pausing them for the current campaign that they're in. Now, say something's changed and you just need to immediately follow up with this person. You can just send a manual follow-up, of course, but maybe you just want ProLine to send the messages that it already had planned to send them, but you don't want them to send it next week or tomorrow. With the new date tool, you have to select a date that is after the current date, so you can't select today. But on the other hand, you can just hit run now. And so run now will just immediately run these automations for the contact, skips any delay, and just goes ahead and sends them. Now, the last option here is the ability to change which automations in a campaign are about to run for the contact. So we can select from this dropdown, we can see all the different steps that are in this campaign. This matches up with what you'd see if you clicked on the gear icon and opened up the edit sequence page. That's the same, all those steps are right here, but when we click on them on this change next step dialog, then what we get is ProLine's going to show us, similarly to the preview next steps, it's actually going to show us a preview of what this step, what these steps would look like for this contact. So these are not the upcoming messages that are going to be sent to the contact unless we do change them, but we can see a preview here of what these messages would look like if we were to change and make these the next upcoming messages. And similarly, we can view these now. We can't edit them since they're not the currently scheduled messages or automations for this contact, but we can preview them. And that gives us an idea whether or not we want to move this contact from its current step, maybe it's on step 2 or 5 or whatever, and move it to this step that's later down the pipeline. Now, one thing to note, just because of how these steps work, for most of our default templates, we always have the email going out first, and then we have some delay on that email, and then immediately run a text message after. Because of that, if you do select a text message, for example, in here, you'll see that this is It's just going to show you the text message. And the reason for this is because it's going to run the text and then it's going to wait for that next email since the email has the delay on it. Whereas if we select this email instead, you're going to see both the email and the text message because both of these things are running together. So just something to be careful about if you are going to move to a message later down the road. Make sure if you do want there to still be a delay, and if you do want to be sending both email and text together, depending on how the sequence is set up, then just make sure that you're selecting a step that has the delay on it versus selecting like the second step in that combination of steps that's running simultaneously. And that pretty much covers the preview next steps dialogue and gives an idea of what you can do. This is a really, really powerful feature, especially for individual members of your team, and gives them that really in-depth control of the automations if they need it. Of course, you can just let ProLine do its thing, and it's going to just default to those normal templates and time frames for sending those automations. But in those situations that inevitably come up, where you have some different unique situation with a prospect, this is a great way to jump in and really take control of that follow up without having to actually just do it manually like you would have had to previously.